Boom, baby, we're alive. The markets are alive. What a much needed miracle. It seems like a miracle to me, but I have been traveling and doing so many events over the last 2 weeks. Honolulu, Hawaii, then Las Vegas for a conference. Now we're back on the ground here in Tokyo for the Tokyo Crypto Show Season 2. We're going to be talking about this sudden boom we have just had in the cryptocurrency market, with yesterday totaling very near to $1 billion in inflows to the USA Bitcoin ETFs. And as of this very moment, right now, for today, we are sitting at $274 million flowing into Bitcoin through the ETFs, and BlackRock iBitShares ETF has not shared their data. Arc Capital's at 130 million, Fidelity's at 125 million. When these guys move, they typically move in tandem. So we're probably going to see by the end of the episode, if we get some reporting here within an hour, we're going to see the numbers for BlackRock. I personally have been taken by surprise for this. Who has anybody else been surprised by? I'm surprised. Just show of hands who's surprised on the panel. Kinda. Alex, 50, you kinda.
Well, I knew something would happen, so this is what it is. So okay, cool.
It's gonna go up or go down, eh? One of those.
Yep, that's it. Hey, I told you a few weeks ago, April 12th. Just wait, and then it'll go up, and now it's going up. There you go.
Yeah,
bunch of non-believers. Bunch of non-believers.
I know. Forgive me, Father.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I used to have that on my soundboard. I don't have that anymore. Yeah, we got to talk, guys, because this, for the average trader and a lot of people, this was a much needed. Is this a relief rally? What do we title this?
Bull market continuation.
Bull market.
Yeah, exactly.
Off we go.
What
again.
is it? Yeah, off we go again.
Yeah. If we stalled at 89, then okay. But we're fucking 95. We just fucking let's go. Cool.
I
don't expect it to just like zoom up to 300 grand or anything. In the 2
damn it, why not?
But up, like we should be higher at the end, like towards the end of the year. So beautiful. This is all. The bull market wasn't validated, even with the big drop, and yet again, it still seems like we're all intact for Q4. So nice, cool.
The Q4 narrative is lining up. So let's just jump right into it. Alex, you are designated chart guy. What we're going to do today's episode flow, we're going to go directly with Alex. We are going to talk about coins that matter, Bitcoin, Solana. We will have our weekly laugh at Ethereum. And Stock Market Steve is going to give us a report right after that. And then from there, any other technical data will be covered by Louis Raskins, 7-figure trader, entrepreneur, all-around nice guy. And then rounding it home, the wisdom of the panel, James, BTC, Big Papa Bitcoin, who has been yelling at all his disobedient sons, his multicolored disobedient sons, that everything's going to be okay. Forgive us, Father, for we have sinned. We are here to beg for forgiveness.
Repent.
We need Asian Father's approval. That's a very hard thing to get. So we got it all here, man. Alex, take it away, brother.
Beautiful. Well, welcome to the Bitcoin Monthly Chart. So let's jump in and have a look here. This was just sort of me keeping it simple in terms of some structures. And so we had our March 2024 top. And we had the top in sort of November, December, January, the most recent one. And now this is just this movement here plotted along here. And this is generally my expectation for Q4. So some people's expectations are up in the $200,000 plus, some about 150. I'm looking for, by the time we're in Q4 and we're above this area here, so that's about sort of $120,000 to $140,000. That's where I'm expecting currently. The most likely expectation for where we'll get to. But in general, we've had our 1, 2, 3 months down. April 12th was a date I was keeping an eye out for. If we move into the daily, we can see that, in fact, we got our sort of low on the 9th. Beautiful. And then, ta-da, we've turned around. So that's really, really, really great.
Crazy.
Yeah. Whew. So it looks like Bitcoin has decided to decouple from the broader market with this nice big recovery. This is actually such a dramatic recovery, 26%, that you would say that any 60-day cycles and the like finished here. They wrapped up on about the 7th or the 9th, which I believe is about 40 days back from, where we sort of started off. So weak or bearish 60-day cycles tend to be shorter. Bullish ones tend to push longer than the 60. That's why the 60 is an average and not, gospel. So beautiful. Everything's working the way we want. Low. We're keeping it very simple here. Lower low. Okay, cool. So now we're looking, what's going to happen? But we've come up. We've closed above. We've closed the highest we've closed in like 2 months. And off we go. So this is really a strong sign. We might have a bit of fucking around, come back down, bullish retest, off we go. But in general, market's looking good. People who sold, around $90,000 probably should be buying back in. If you sold it, all the way down at 74,000, then that's where you probably should sit there and think, well, why didn't I sell high? Why didn't I sell here? Why didn't I sell here? Why didn't I sell here? And it's probably because you weren't managing your trading plan or emotions. So just be honest with yourself and off we go. In terms of the trimming, I think I'm about exactly the same in terms of portfolio at this price as I was all the way back here. I ended up selling a few grand of Solana to buy some shit because it felt like it. But in terms of everything in my macro thesis of Q4, we didn't break down. We're still alive. We're looking good. Now we've got moving averages here. 20-day coming up over the 50. Really nice to see. We're not out of the woods yet, though, because the 200 still looms ahead here. So we do definitely want to see green, orange, red, and not anything but that. So off we go. But this is such a dramatic jump up. We're getting billions of dollars of trading volume in the ETFs again. All of a sudden, Bitcoin ETFs, not the Ethereum one. But we're looking pretty great and groovy. So we ended up only. I say only, it was pretty dramatic, but we ended up only dropping 31%. To put into context, in 2021, the drop was much closer to 50%. I think it was actually more than 50%. So in terms of drawdown, totally normal in a bull market. We expect 20 to 30% drops. So by all means, we should just go up now. It doesn't mean we're going to fly off the handles, but we should be trending in the right direction. Solana had a good punch up. Beautiful. A few people reached out to me, actually, to let me know, I sold my Solana. Now, I don't understand why people who know me and know what I do like to call me up after they've already made the decision, because I'd say, well, just wait. Just wait. Like, why? Because if it went lower, I'll lose money. But of course there'll be relief. And the relief rally has turned into exactly the same pattern as Bitcoin. We got this it's not a double bottom, but this W shape, and up we go. But you just got to chill out on a huge drop, and with fear and greed at fucking 12, 15, everyone's just chill. If you want to sell, you can. That's totally fine, and obviously you can do what the hell you want. But it's generally a good idea to just wait for the relief rally and get out, because you wait 3 or 4 days, and all of a sudden your sell price is 30% higher. And a lot of these people had their cost basis at around 96, 97. So you're talking about just wait a day. If you can't handle it, just wait a week. And all of a sudden you've collected 30% and you can ride off into the sunset. And 30%, we got traditional finance people creaming themselves over 5% in a year, 8%. Holy shit. So just chill out, because if you're going to sell here, you should have sold back at 130. You should have sold back at 180, all the way up here. If you're going to be in a long-term position, it's like going to court. There's no point going to court if you're not going to go all the way. You might as well just not do it in the first place. So really, 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 really check in with yourself and make sure you don't do stupid shit like that. We're out of the woods, it seems. We've closed up nice and high. Beautiful. We've closed higher than we've closed since, I guess right here, 2nd of March. So that is almost 2 months. So Solana's looking good. However, Solana Bitcoin is sort of not doing much. This is the weekly. Not doing much. I am of the mind that Solana shall outpace Bitcoin, but at this stage, this area is generally the area for it to beat. So until it breaks through that, I am just going to assume that at the end of the market, we're in Q4, October, November, December, we're going to just be hanging out at this level, which really is only about a 12% increase. Other people have, targets of Solana being much, much higher. Other people also have Bitcoin targets being much, much higher. But at this stage, Solana has a lot of work to do to recapture this sort of level that we've kind of got here. So I expect Solana to outpace. However, the outpace might not be as dramatic as you think. That said, though, we've been seeing life appear in some of our meme coins again, which is good because that means retail is back and speculating and doing stuff. And if retail is making moves, then there's volatility, the market's going, life is good. Solana ETH, once again, we're pushing up. This is the highest close we have ever had on the Solana Ethereum ratio. So once again, if you're in Ethereum, why? You've had many opportunities to get in and out, and it became very, very obvious. Here, it became extraordinarily obvious that you really shouldn't be anywhere near Ethereum. And you'll see people talking about how Ethereum's going to change the world. They're full of shit. They are full of shit. No one gives a fuck. No one cares about the blockchain at the current time. They just care about making money off it. If it actually becomes useful, if it actually becomes a monetary system that we use in the future, that's great. But it hasn't done that. And we're just here trading it. So just don't be too married to your positions. So if Solana just falls off a fucking cliff, then fuck Solana. But at the moment, I love Solana. Me and Solana, best buddies. Great time. So, yeah. Other things you'll see lots of charts doing this. We saw it in Bitcoin. We saw it in Solana. Here's SUI. Another, not a W bottom, not a double bottom, because it was much lower, but we have this structure and we've broken the structure and closed above it. So anything that's doing this will continue to move up in accordance with Bitcoin. Anything that is not doing that, then I'd be a little bit concerned with. So in terms of the broad thing, you can say we've started a 60-day cycle back here on the 9th. And so we are looking for, a positive one, basically. Everything's looking pretty fine and dandy. We should have made it through this area here, all of the craziness. I mean, the fear and greed jumped back up into the 70s. So, you can't be... Sentiment changes. It changes so quickly. And we don't know what the hell Trump's going to do. We don't know what the hell's going on with the tariffs. We're not in those meetings. Okay. And literally no fucking person is in those meetings. There's 20, 30 cunts who know what the shit's going on. We don't know that. We can't find that information. So don't worry about it. Just look at what are the cycles and patterns telling us? What are they saying over and over again? They're saying that a 30% drop is totally fine. They're saying that we should expect a top in Q4. We haven't been betrayed by that yet. Bitcoin still continues to do the general 4-year cycle pattern that it's been doing. Now, we know that as soon as you think that something's going to happen, the market does something to surprise you. So that's why we're not sitting here taking fucking 17 billion X leverage on this, because nothing's ever a guaranteed outcome. We're always looking to make sure, has this been invalidated? But it has not been invalidated. And in fact, if you were to get a bit excited about it, this region up here is sort of where you'd see the final, that's it, no more, market's over, in my opinion, which is all the way up at 230,000. So there's a lot of good shit on the horizon. I've been back in, or rather down in Adelaide, South Australia, the last week for Easter, and their house prices are going to bananas. Well, 2025, in the Cycle Trends and Forecast book that I've been flinging around the joint, let me just grab it. This fucking thing. 2025, there'll be a top. Well, fucking there's a top in 2025. Everyone's going crazy. It's comical, but at the same time, the reason it works is because no one gets it. So that's kind of good. So everything seems to be working out in according to plan, according to schedule. So yeah, nice. We can just relax and continue on. For most people who are holding long term, this would have just been noise and you wouldn't have had to really do anything. That said, though, the general vibe of the market has a tendency to get into your life in unexpected ways. So you might have felt a bit extra stressed out or sad the last few months, but you'll probably find yourself magically feeling a lot better now because the market has decided that it wants to go up, and now it is. So, yeah, things are looking great.
Yeah. And then do you just want to pull up ETH BTC? Or excuse me, did we do that already?
No.
I just want to see I like to watch the line go down every week.
Let's do it.
It's the highlight of my week, honestly.
So, ETH BTC. Once again, people calling. This is the bottom. So we're making like 4-year lows. Right, that's the.
I think it's going to turn around this week, man. This is finally the week where it turns around.
Something to see. There's some people on X, and they're sitting there going like, "Oh, there's just like parabola that's coming down." They draw all these fucking lines, and then they sit there and they zoom right in. And they're like, "See, it's just gotta break above this line." Well, it fucking hasn't. So you just like shut up, quit fucking telling people to buy Ethereum. It's not doing anything. It is not. It's like it's just going lower and lower and lower and lower, losing value. And once again, we don't care. Most people who buy Ethereum don't even have a fucking wallet on Ethereum. They don't even use the blockchain on Ethereum. They don't care. They just want to see it moving up. If it becomes useful, nice. We're all happy for that. I think blockchain is fucking great technology. But like, what is this? Like, what is this? You've just lost money. Solana's outpaced it by fucking like 12, 20 fucking times. Excuse my French, but like, come on. Ridiculous. So yes, if your chart looks like this, just get out. Did it at least do the same sort of pattern that everything else got? Let's see if it doesn't even want to load. That's how much it hates this thing. Let's go. And so everything else, we were getting that W up, and this, has not. It just has not. So it's nice. 2-week reaction. Wow. That's what happens. Or, a rally, 2 weeks. That's what happens all the fucking time after a big drop. You get about 2 weeks up, and then it goes back down again. So I'm willing for Ethereum to, be amazing and be the next big thing, but it's got to actually start doing some shit. Where there's like 200. We got red, orange, green. That equals do not trade me. That is not. No. You're just picking bottoms, and people have been picking bottoms for the last fucking 3 years on this motherfucking thing. And just don't. Practice safe trading, kids.
Man, it's kind of like very sobering to look at that. Like, that's just unbelievable. Steve, the Dow Jones got 1,000 points 2 days ago, right?
Yeah. It's been chopping up and down. There's been days where it wants to surge, and there's been other days where it's been wanting to crash. Long and the short of it, I reviewed everything on my end. I've been studying like crazy. The conclusion that I've kind of come to is I'm going to re-enter the market when I see rate cuts or QE or a combination of the both. And then either that or Trump's like holding off from the tariffs. Luckily, Trump's beginning to hold off from the tariffs. I said a couple weeks ago that if Trump doesn't hold off on the tariffs and if Powell's going to hold on his position of holding rates, then things are going to definitely be bearish. So far, when I reviewed the meetings, the recent minutes, Powell's looks like he's married to holding rates in May. If we're lucky, he'll cut them in July. I think he must cut them by September. For now, what I'm doing in my own portfolio is I've sold about half of my positions, and I've chosen to sell all the riskiest stocks that I own. So I guess the cryptocurrency equivalent would be selling the meme coins, but holding Solana and Bitcoin. I'm holding more value stocks in what we would refer to as deep value stocks right now. Right? Until I see rate cuts, until I see QE, I'm going to continue to hold on to deep value stocks or value stocks because they fall much less in drawdowns compared to tech stocks like Tesla or Nvidia and companies like that. I'm going to continue to hold on to these positions until I see a stance switch from Powell. I understand that when he cuts rates or when he starts QE, that's going to be a big green day in the market, and I might miss out on those potential gains because of that. However, the risks to the downside, I think, are still very large. Credit card defaults are up. Student loan defaults are up. Mortgage defaults are up. Spending is down. Job openings are plummeting, both in the private sector and the public sector. GDP estimates are collapsing. For this reason, I have to exhibit some caution here, and for that reason, I'm choosing to invest relatively securely until I see greater support from Powell or from the Federal Reserve. I think there's a good shot that we could see that by September, however. So for me personally, I'm probably going to be going more risk on around maybe August or September, or quite frankly, if we get lucky and if he announces rate cuts or QE in the July month, then I might go back to being risk on. But for now, I'm investing more cautiously. I opted against going completely cash and gold. I decided that there's not enough risk for me to justify doing that. But I am holding on to assets that tend to move a lot more slowly, at least for the time being, until we have more clarity from the Federal Reserve or Trump on his tariff policy.
You know, the way I'm looking at things, right? It's just everything. If we do you think we will get rate cuts this year? Yes or no?
Definitely. We have to have at least some level of rate cuts, if for no other reason than to support our debt payments.
Yeah, and that's what James, Big Papa James VTC has been saying. So, yeah, man. Talk about being on the edge of your decision here with these people. And then, with Polymarket doing what Polymarket does. This is the Fed decision in May. As you can see, March 11th, that's Tsunami Day in Japan. They had us at a 52% probability of the rates increasing, but Powell is just I honestly, can anybody explain to me what he's doing? Can anybody break that down, why he's not cutting rates now? James, Steve?
He's worried about tariff risk and how tariffs are going to affect small to medium sized enterprises, for more or less. Pretty much, he doesn't know how tariffs are going to affect prices. He doesn't know how that's going to affect inflation one way or another. So he's choosing to hold rates for the time being until he sees what the actual price changes on goods are going to be due to tariffs.
I think,
like, for example, today, Trump is reeled back. Sorry, I'll finish on this one last note. Trump reeled back a lot of the Chinese related tariffs today. And because Trump has been changing his tariff policy week by week, Powell's saying, okay, I'm going to hold rates until I see what the prices are actually going to level off as, at least for now. However, I still am of the opinion that at least within the year we have to see rate cuts. It's just, I think May has a lot of potential to be potentially bearish. June could also be potentially painful. If May and June are not painful and he does choose to cut rates for shocking, and do the shock, that's why I'm still holding the value and deep value stocks so that I can still enjoy those gains. But on the flip side, if he chooses to hold rates, and if we get bad econ reports, and if things go down further, because I'm invested deep value wise, the slide off is going to be much less in my portfolio. But that's just my own personal decision making, my own investment strategy. I'm going to be risk on until I know that we have that runway with rate cuts and QE.
James?
Let's kind of step back for a second, guys, right? What do we really know? Because at this point, any reason we're thinking that what about the Powell or Trump or, whoever thinking is just I like to say, mental masturbation, right? We don't know what they're thinking. What do we know, though? There's about $6 to $8 trillion of U.S. Treasury that has to be refinanced by end of this year. We know that. That's out there, right? So what else do we know? We cannot afford to pay interest payment on those debt that's going to get reissued if that interest is reissued at 4% or higher that we're currently setting. We know for a fact that that's a fact, right? What I think is happening is that Trump knows this, Powell knows this, CCP knows this, everybody knows this, right? So they have come to some kind of agreement behind the scene. Remember, Janet Yellen was going to China every week before Trump took it over. Do you guys remember that?
Oh yeah.
They cut some kind of deal. Chinese need a weak dollar to get their economy going. Trump wants to kind of follow through on his campaign promises, right? Powell wants to refinance. Well, all three of them are in cahoots, but they cannot come out and say, hey, we're going to lower the rates because we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Then what happened? When when the Fed lowers rates, everybody goes risk on. That means everybody's going to jump into riskier asset class, which is the stocks, tech stocks, crypto, yada, 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 right? Then money's going to come out of the treasury or the bond market and fly into the equities and crypto. Then what happened to the yield, Steve, when bond demand goes down?
Surges.
Yeah. So now what happened, right? So now the yield goes up, which is not the direction we want the yield to go up, right? Because we want the yield to come down because we want to refinance it. So this is what's happening. I think they all know this, and they all know they're going to have to cut the rates. But in the short term, they're playing some kind of kabuki theater, right? Because they want to iron out the details and get the timing. And, nothing in the market moves overnight, right? It just takes time and effort and liquidity. So they're just kind of ironing out all the details. In meantime, they're going to put this kabuki theater where they're kind of confusing the market, saying that, oh, we're going to cut the rate. No, we're not going to cut the rate. Oh, we're going to put on tariff. We're not going to put on tariff. Think about all the steps that Trump and Powell's been doing. They've just been going back and forth, right? They haven't really stuck to saying that, oh, I'm 200% tariff on China. Then, oh, I'm going to pause it for 90 days. Then they're like, oh, 145%. Well, we're going to talk to CCP about this. Then I'm going to replace Powell. Oh, no, he's got his job secured. I mean, come on, right? So in the long run, we know what's going to happen. They're going to have to cut the rate and refinance. In meantime, market's going to go crazy, batshit crazy, up and down, because market tend to react to short term, emotionally, to short term news, right? And our job as a disciplined trader / investor is to not get stepped on by these emotional swings of the market by just sitting. Again, more sitting, less thinking.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
It'll be interesting. If the rates don't get cut, then I think Q4 would be the end of everything.
Yeah.
Everything
Well, I mean, U.S. government's going to go bankrupt, right?
Yeah,
or they're going to have to declare bankruptcy. So, I mean, we got more. That at that point, we got a lot more problems at that point than worrying about crypto podcasts. I think if they default, then I think Bitcoin's going to go through the roof. Actually. Because it's like you were saying, Steve, or Alex, it's decoupling, right? We're kind of seeing decoupling of Bitcoin from other cryptocurrency as well as the other asset class. So people or the market is realizing more of Bitcoin as a natural inflational hedge, just like gold is. So I think it's going to behave more like gold, but it's just going to take more about the adoption curve, because remember, we've been using gold for millennium versus we've been using Bitcoin for what, 20 years, less than that. So I mean, it's just it's just going to take time, but we're already seeing the Bitcoin decoupling from other cryptos, as well as all the Nasdaq and tech stock, right? Because they're kind of moving in opposite direction now.
I'd like to jump in on that as well. maybe I'm going to get fired from the panel, but multiple times now for the past few weeks, Bitcoin surged where the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq and the S&P have fallen. Like there's been days where the S&P will fall like 500. Well, not the S&P, sorry. The Dow Jones will fall 500 to 1,000 points in a single day, but Bitcoin goes 4% higher. See, back in like 2022, Bitcoin was pretty darn married to the stock market.
They were very highly correlated, right?
Yeah,
Steve?
very fucking correlated.
And now it's negatively correlated. So
yeah,
kind of like
it's becoming less correlated. I would say I don't think Bitcoin's completely gotten off the stock market drugs yet, but it's beginning to. They're beginning to trade in different directions.
We've been telling you guys about this on the show for over a year now, right? We said Bitcoin is going to start doing its own thing. And we're kind of beginning to see this.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, looking at you know, the data here for the inflows too. I think the most transparent things you can take a look at that's readily available to the average person at home is looking at the inflows. I'll be talking about that a little bit. Hopefully when we get some more data as the episode goes on. Next, we're going to take up Mr. Louis Raskins, who has, Louis and Alex, not to pry, but I'm assuming over these last 2 months, it's been kind of a trader's paradise. Have you guys been doing okay?
Yeah. There's been a lot of just in, out, a little bit in. Yep. You know, you look at stuff like Fartcoin that has had a run and 80% or something at the moment. You could just walk off with your 80%, but you were getting, each day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day. Oh, there's 15%, there's 20%, there's, okay, thanks. It's been pretty good.
Pretty money. All right, Louis, take it away, brother.
Cool. Yeah, it has basically been a trader's paradise, and I oh man, too bad I didn't stream this, but I wanna do a couple things. First off, let me just collect like 5 seconds of clout. All right, because you see this little let me show you something real quick.
Take your time. Go ahead.
I need to share it. First off, okay. Here's this. This is from the stream not too long ago, and I don't know if you could see it. This
hit Control Plus a couple times.
A couple weeks, like a month or two ago. I don't know. Back in February. Yeah, back in February. What is this? The big green box right here, down here, 74, 75,000, right? And then a big red box up here. This was right like when the week that the Bitcoin fell below, 100,000 and broke the big structure. Big green box, big red box. Okay, boom. Now stop that. Go on to the next one, and then it's we start coming down. We start coming down to the big green box. All right. What do I say? I say, hey guys, we're getting close. We're getting close. $74,000, $75,000. What do you know? We're getting there. And then people were telling me as we started going up, man, I don't know what's going on. Things are getting a little crazy. So I had to tell them, yo, if you think everyone's bullish now, just wait until Bitcoin hits $93,500. And then you're going to see bull market back on, long everything. I did say in this tweet that that's what I'm going to be shorting everything. I've not shorted everything, yet. But that's been my, little game plan for the last couple months. Worked out perfectly. So I'm very, very happy about that.
And then what's your I'm going to pull up your is it Lou Raskin?
I just put the Louis Raskin is my Twitter. And I just
you guys want to follow Louis right here. Check him out real quick, because this guys, I call Louis and I talk to Louis bare minimum once a week since the bull market has started, because I really trust him, because he is because I know a lot of you guys have jobs and stuff, and you're like, you know, kind of like managing a whole life, family, weight loss plan, girlfriend, whatever, and you have not limited time. But Lou, I'm telling you guys, Lewis is just, he is in there every day, day in and day out. And if he has 10,000 subscribers on Twitter, so if you want to follow him over there, I do believe he is a source of integrity. And I think he's a great guy. And this is really good stuff here, what we got going on. So give him a follow, and then we'll pull your chart back up right now.
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, you are welcome. 1 second. There we go.
All right, cool. So now, where are we back at? We're back at the big red box. So yes, we did have this huge week. This week, everything's, you know, up. It's great. However, I'm not sure if people remember, but a couple weeks ago, I was talking about how a lot of times big supports become big resistances. So I'm not sure if you can see my mouse. Can you?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, cool. So remember how I said, you know, we had this big area back at 90 to 95,000, just bouncing off of it, continuously bouncing off of it. And then if we go down to a lower time frame chart, I said, all right, we fell underneath of here. So if we come back up to it, probably going to get rejected from it. Boom, get rejected, comes back down. Well, we are back up at that big support resistance. So I'd be a little cautious. I would not just throw, you know, caution to the wind and just go all in and buy right now, because obviously you want to buy down here, you want to buy down here, anywhere down here is where you want to buy. But after big green days, that's not the time to be buying. And so now there's a lot of resistance that we're coming into, and I think that the best move is to sort of just wait, and maybe what'll happen is it'll you know, come back down into this big green box now, and that's a few $1,000s, and then turn around and hopefully we go up to new all-time highs. That's, you know, the great thing that we want, right? But what if it, you know, what if it doesn't? What if it turns around and, you know, you didn't sell anything up here, and then it sort of just like keeps on going down, and then it ends up coming back down, and then it goes back up, right? So this is going to be like super painful. So it really depends on your outlook, right? So if your outlook is more short term, then yeah, I think that selling somewhere up here is a good idea. And then, you know what, if Bitcoin does come back up to, you know, 98, 99,000, then you could get back in on a retest, and we're off to the races. And you're going to miss out on this 5% move right there. But you know, you might miss out on this 5-6%, but if it doesn't and it comes all the way back down, then that's, you know, a 20% move down. So that's the way I'm looking at it right now. So I'm starting to sell a little bit of my spot bags right here. I'm not going to open up any short positions unless I see something on the lower time frames, until I see like some type of, you know, price action. But what we really want is, you know, something that happened like this back here in 2021, right? So we had that huge move down, as you talked about earlier, and then we had this big move up. So in my opinion, this is sort of like the big move up that we had right now. And so what makes more sense is to wait for some type of retracement back into a big good area, and then you get in, and then it shoots back up, right? So that's pretty much what I'm waiting for now, is like, okay, are we going to have that move back down into the good area where it makes sense to long, and then, you know, a move back up and I could long down here. So that's, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking like, should I buy now? Because that always happens, right? You know, whenever the price moves up like crazy, should I buy now? Should I buy now? I would say no. And just follow, and I would follow the game plan that I just did. But if you have a multi-year long type of, strategy, or if you're looking at the long term, then yeah, it doesn't really matter when you buy. You could be like Michael Saylor and just buy. So it really depends on your time preference, but that's what I'm seeing for Bitcoin. And then one other thing that I think is really, really important to look at is dominance levels. So if we look at the Bitcoin dominance chart,
It's just been
this is
ripping.
what, oh my God, crazy, right? So everyone always talks about alt season. When is alt season? Alt season's coming, right? Okay, this is the opposite of alt season. When Bitcoin dominance is going up like crazy, that is Bitcoin season, right? And it's pretty much been a Bitcoin market. This right here, this is alt season, okay? Right? So this is alt season when the dominance level of Bitcoin just goes down and alts rip like crazy. But what we've been having lately is just nothing but Bitcoin dominance just going up and up and up and up and up. It's been such a big powerhouse. So what I like to do is look at the Fibonacci levels and sort of base it off of that, like when I want to get in, when I might be getting in, when I might be getting out. And if you take the Fibonacci from basically the last high all the way down to the low, what you could see is that this golden ratio is called the 61.8. That's the golden ratio of the Fibonacci, 61.8. And that's basically where the magic happens. And if you look to the right, what happened? Boom. This is November. And what happened in November? November was when we had basically the alt season of 2024, was when Trump became president, was elected, and everything sort of went up like crazy during this little time, this little pullback right here, right? In November. And then it was mid-December when everything started to, turn over and alts started crashing again. And that's when we started to move back up on the Bitcoin dominance chart, right? So when Bitcoin dominance falls over, that's when alts could really rip. So I'm looking at this chart a lot, and I think that once we get up to this area right here, this is the next Fibonacci level. So this was the golden ratio, 61.8. That was the first Fib level. And then we have this next level, which is the 78.6. That is another possible level where things might, Bitcoin dominance might turn around and alts might get a little bit of a rally. And then, of course, we have the entire, the top, like the previous Bitcoin dominance level tops, right? And at this point, this is where we're really going to need to see an alt season if it doesn't happen, at this point, up until then. And so that's definitely something to look at a lot. But one thing that, you also have to keep in mind is what everyone was talking about before, especially Steve, so what are the fundamentals, are there rate cuts coming anytime soon? Is there quantitative easing coming anytime soon? How is the stock market doing, and the economy doing, generally speaking? Are there any more clarity with the tariffs? How's the job market? All of that other stuff, right? And so you have to think, okay, is this really, let me get rid of this. Is this really back on and we're gonna, make new all-time highs and it's back to up only season like it was back here? Or, is there still that uncertainty in the market? And for me, I think there is that uncertainty in the market still, like how Steve was talking about earlier. And but as James was talking about too, in the future, probably somewhere around in the late late 2025, we will be getting the rate cuts. We will potentially be getting QE. We will be getting more clarity and more risk on, right? And that's when I think we'll see the huge candles that just go up like crazy. And I don't know why I drew that, but you know, and you know, see the things that we really want to see, and then alts rip and everything, it goes crazy, right? But right now, I don't think it's wise to just throw caution to the wind, unless, you know, like I said before, we end up actually coming back up above all of this big resistance. And I think if we do actually break through this big resistance area and we hit, you know, 98, 99,000, at that point, it's almost like, okay, nothing's stopping this, you know, like even with all the bad stuff, or the cautious stuff happening in the real world, nothing's stopping this if this happens to get up here. And that, at that point, it's like, okay, just buy it and then fuck it, you know, move it up. So that's pretty much my gist of things. Oh yeah, and then I guess one other thing that people would probably be interested in is the fact that you could also be looking at smaller tokens, and some of them are at some pretty good levels. So I was looking at this one, for instance. This is research token. Let me see if I have one on base chain. This is better. Yeah. So like, you know, this is one that I like, fundamentally speaking, and it's down, you know, back at the support levels where it was before. And there's a lot of coins that are like this, that are low market cap, that aren't necessarily the correlated with what Bitcoin does totally. And it's like, I do think that these low market cap ones, if you want to get into the trenches, they can be something that, you know, you could look into to potentially get way bigger gains than just, you know, the majors. And that's, you know, something that I would do. And that's something that I do because you can find, you know, plays that do end up going, you know, doing crazy returns on the smaller, lower market cap things. But of course, those are more riskier, and even, or you could just go into Fartcoin and you know, get a 500x or whatever the heck this did. Not a 500x, a 500%. 500% from the lows for Fartcoin, and you could just, you know, time this perfectly. But yeah, there's a
solid investment vehicle, Fartcoin.
You know,
well, look at that cup and handle, man. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Hey, hot air rises, boys. Hot air rises.
Hey, listen, my meme bag, when this whole correction started, went down 90%. Right? In last week, it has recovered half of that already. So I'm back to 50% of what it was.
Yeah, but I'm guessing your meme bag is not the majority.
It's between Fartcoin and PopCap.
Yeah, and here's PopCat. PopCat's been doing pretty well too. What's PopCat off of from the lows? 237%. So not too bad. Too bad. But yeah, this is actually one thing that I look at this and I'm like, you know, Bitcoin's up.
Something is going on, right, Louis? Something is going on there. Something's going on.
Like, what is this? You know, this I think.
I don't know, man. I would put that side by side with the ETH BTC.
Yeah, this is when it got listed on Coinbase, is right around here. So that's probably, you know, why so much volume has come into it. But still, though, it is, you know, something to look at. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the major things, the big things I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I mean, it's great data right there. I mean, just looking at the state of things, honestly, this is I think for people, myself included, as you see, I'm recovering bear. I'm in rehab. James is rehabbing me. But I just, this is a much needed, I think the whole cryptocurrency market has been like, okay, we needed this. We absolutely need this. So I'm going to talk to you guys about some, you know, as you guys know, I'm really big on just trying to get as much concrete data and minimizing all the hopium and all the nonsense out there. We're still waiting on BlackRock. They are, oh, wow. They literally just hit. Okay. Wow. BlackRock 644 million inflows. So, like I said at the beginning of the show, with our I literally just hit my desk right now 1 minute ago, updated on HODL 15 Capital. So this is going to skew the data I'm about to present in a second because this was just presented to us. But the total inflows for today, 918 million on the Bitcoin ETF inflows. So the thing is, these people know something to a degree because they're getting told by their financial advisors to buy in on this stuff. So I'm going to give you guys 2 quick snapshots here. So this is just this is the last about 2 weeks of inflows. So April 9th, we had minus 127, April 10th, 149, April 11th, 1 mil, and then 1 mil in, and then 76 in, and then 170 out. And then this week has been nothing but positive. So we're at 107 as of Monday, and then excuse me, not as of Monday, that was Friday. Monday was 308 or 381, which is a good number. Tuesday was 936, which is also a great number. And then today, now we're at 918. So 2 days almost back to back in billions. The AI that I used was hallucinating a bit, but I have a pretty accurate, not including the data from today. But this is just so you guys have an idea of where we are. Well, actually, hold on. Let me close the sidebar. Yeah, here, I'll just make, because I don't know how to close this. Give me 1 second. I just want to give a good.
It was Jesus.
Jesus good
and brought the inflows.
Yeah, I know, right? Hallelujah. Here we go. These are the inflows right here. So as you can see, the biggest day we had was right after the election, was 1.37 billion. And then a couple days later, 1.2, and then a couple days later, 1.1. The largest inflow we've had of 2025 was 1.07 billion. And then coming in second was 1.6. And then now we have, yes, the other day we had 940 on the 22nd. And then today we have about 920, 919, give or take. So that's typically the canary in the coal mine, whether you want to believe it or not. There is usually a positive correlation with ETF inflows as well as positive price action. But we've had some serious crazy action this week. Mainly, I know James says we can't theorize or whatever, but if I were to bet money on it, I bet that they're getting close to some kind of deal happening with the trade wars. Because I would say this, and panel, I'd like to ask unanimously across the board everybody's opinion. When it comes down to the trade war with China, obviously the tariffs, trade war, these have been things that push the markets down. Do you think we are going to rip just a show of hands, do you think we're going to rip and do really well if we indeed score a deal with China? Just anybody? I believe so. Okay, so it would be safe to say within reason that potentially planting some seeds now, although it's a little bit costlier than normal, you could plant some seeds now and wait for the news to break, because eventually news will break. I think we have we got 4 to 6 weeks more of this trade war nonsense, and then in the way we've been programmed as humans with social media, everybody will just adjust and move on as they always do. But I do believe that if we have a breakthrough with the tariffs, we're going to see some big markets, because even the TradFi markets are just reacting like crypto recently. Like, you're having big crypto-like drops up and down in TradFi, which is probably spooking a lot of the older boomers who've been playing the game on easy mode their whole life. Now, welcome to the trenches. We're going to drag you motherfuckers in here with us. And
welcome to the rice field.
Welcome to the rice field, motherfucker.
For that exact reason, because of a potential tariff deal being made with China or other sort of major trading partners, that's why I chose to not go all cash and gold. That's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to still hold some stocks, but the safer ones in my portfolio, just not the super risky, risk on assets that I was holding before, rather than being completely 100% defensive, only cash or cash and gold, that kind of thing. Because if a deal is met, then no, shit is going to rip. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in on that?
Markets are forward thinking. So
yeah.
Let's go with Louis, and then James. I want you to give your own time, James. Go ahead, Louis.
Yeah, just one thing that I've noticed, or that I've seen and heard and people said, is that markets are forward thinking. So like Steve said earlier, he's welcome to wait until there are rate cuts and quantitative easing. But while that, when that does happen, there's going to be such a huge spike. Like, he's okay, waiting until that happens, but we might start seeing things happen in the market itself, in the price, in like the actual prices of things before it actually happens, right? So I would think that getting in before, like, the most optimal time, let's just say the most optimal time to get in is as close to the price movement that, basically right before it rockets up. All right. And it doesn't rocket up necessarily the day of something happening, but maybe a few weeks or a month or so before the actual news hits is when things start to turn around and then start to go back up. And if you could see that, then you could get in, much closer to a bottom or at a much better price. And, you could just use a stop loss if you're trading. And then also think of the fact that, especially with the stock market, with the S&P 500, there's never been a period where it has fallen 15% and you have lost money investing into it after 10 years, right? So if you have a long enough, time horizon, and I don't think it's going to take 10 years for it to reach new all-time highs again. But it's just, there's never been a moment in time in history where after a 15% drop, you're going to be in drawdown after 10 years. And that's in the stock market, in the S&P 500. And it's pretty obvious that you want to be getting in after, when there is, substantial drops, so I'm almost hoping that for crypto, there is another drop so that I could buy more, to be honest. But yeah, that's just, think about how it's forward thinking and think about when something is possibly going to happen. So we might be getting the rate cuts, in Q4, and quantitative easing might be happening Q4 or maybe 2026. So getting in a few months prior to that would probably give you the best price. And always use your emotions, and think when it's the worst, when things seem like it's the worst and you want to cry and you want to sell everything, that's usually the best time to buy. And so that's what I plan on doing.
Yeah, good stuff. James, you want to tap in?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of things here. I got a handful of stuff.
Go, take your time.
So, one of the things I've learned from working in the financial markets, because I work for, Fortune 100 companies, private equity companies, private equity holding companies, and been trading for the last, I guess, over 20 years, is that we really don't know what's going on behind the scene. Because just like, Alex said, these meetings, White House staff meetings, there's only dozens of people that knows what's going on, right? So when you are trying to analyze your investment and try to figure out the catalyst or the reason behind it, you might want to put things in a category, right? Things that I know for sure that it's happening, things that I think happening, and things that I don't know. Well, for me, the tariff and whatever, whatnot, political theater, that goes in my I don't know category bucket, right? But I know for a fact that here's a things that I do know. It's that the big money and big players do not raise money for new ventures or go into new business ventures in the bear market, right? They only do that during the bull market. So when you're trying to get IPOs, think about internet boom. Was it all the tech companies IPO'd during the late 90s when the market was going up, or did they all IPO after the internet collapse in 2000 when the market was going down? They were all IPOing during the bull market part of it, right? So just keep that in mind that when big players are doing stuff, making deals, raising the money, you're still in the bull market. And it is kind of arrogant for us as a small fish to believe that we have a better information than these companies that's got billions and hundreds of $1 million in asset with hundreds, if not thousands of research analysts, and they have a industry context, banking context, yada yada yada. They have definite superior edge on the information than any of us combined, right? I don't care how much crypto Twitter or Discord servers you're parsing through using your free version of ChatGPT, that it is arrogant for a individual trader to assume that we have a better information than the big boys. Okay? So based on that, let me share some news that was released a few days ago. So let me see here. Share screen. Window, entire screen. Window, right tab. Okay. All right. This one. Look at this. Charles Schwab, CEO, eyes spot Bitcoin trading by April 2026.
ETF?
Nope, spot trading. They're not even. They're already. I got a Schwab account. They let you trade Bitcoin ETF already. They're gonna say we're gonna let you when our people start trading crypto on our platform.
Who do they go through?
They're gonna do it.
No. For the ETF right now, who did they go through?
They got everything. They got Fidelity. They got BlackRock. They got everything.
Oh wow.
Means, hey, we gonna jump into crypto market, and Charles Schwab is the biggest retail broker in the world. So this one of the biggest retail brokers said, hey, I think we're gonna let our customers start trading spot Bitcoin and crypto on our platform. Do you think they will do that during the bear market? Okay. Let me share another one.
Yeah, I want to make sure we talk about the liquidity too, the chart with the liquidity. I think that's a pretty telling one as well. Here you go. You're up.
Can you guys see this?
Yep, Cantor team.
Cantor teams up with Tether and SoftBank for $3.6 billion crypto venture.
Wow. SoftBank, so just so you guys know, SoftBank is like the number one company because Japan is very insular. SoftBank is the number two SoftBank or cell phone carrier in Japan. And when 2007 happened, the iPhone was debuted. All of the Japanese companies were unanimously come together and kind of trying to block it because they wanted to push their crappy Japanese phones. But SoftBank was the company that brought the iPhone to Japan and revolutionized the market, and they made a lot of money in the time. They're very forward thinking. He's actually Chinese descendancy, not a full Japanese person. Masason,
right? Yeah.
Masason,
yeah. He said he's gonna invest $1 trillion in U.S. economy. He got a deal with Donald Trump, right? Or like $100 billion, insane amount. Well, Cantor Fitzgerald investment firm is launching a crypto venture with a Tether, which is the biggest stablecoin company, and the SoftBank, like John said, one of the biggest tech investor in Japan, to buy $3.6 billion of crypto. Cantor Fitzgerald. Does that sound familiar to you guys?
No, who's that? That's Satoshi's real identity.
What? No.
I wanted to jump in with the your mum, but I thought it would take.
Hold on. Where is that? Oh, look at this guy. Do you guys know this guy?
Oh,
1983, he was hired as Cantor Fitzgerald under mentorship of blah, blah, blah. And before he became a secretary of commerce, he was a CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. Do you think if any firm has inside information about where the market's going, do you think it will be a commerce secretary's ex-firm? Maybe?
our government would never do that to us.
Never. God damn. Yep. They're all connected.
So I mean, come on. So let's see here. So let's go back to, let's zoom out even more. Let's look at total crypto market cap.
Yeah.
Compared to the global liquidity. Total crypto market cap have been in this nice uptrend channel. This is monthly. Sure, it at the bottom of this channel here in April, and it penetrated and it came right back up. Do you guys see that? As well as the global liquidity that's been going up and the dollar strength that's been going down. So does that kind of does that match the couple of the macro news I just shared, that big boys still think that we're in the bull market?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Interesting, right? So let me share another news. They're like, oh, the Solana is dead, blah 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 blah, right? Where is that? Sorry, guys. Find coin. Where is that? Oh, find that.
Absolutely, Billy. It's all coming together.
Crypto venture. Oh, here it is. Can you guys see it?
Yep. There you go.
Crypto veterans seek to make a publicly traded gen over the micro strategy of Solana. Oh, gee, look at this. Former executive and founders of Kraken, which is the second or third biggest crypto exchange in the world, said, oh, we're going to go do our own thing and start a company which becomes a micro strategy of Solana. Do you think Solana was going in bear market? Do you think these guys would be doing this? They used to work at Kraken. So they're market makers. Or do you think that they would be doing this if they knew that Solana ETF is going to get not approved?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the Solana.
Yeah,
ETF.
I got a point on that. Actually.
Yeah. So then let me share this. Again, sorry about that. I got to go back and forth on the.
You're good.
Cool.
You're doing this is valuable
Fabulous
information.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find
Here's
the
the Solana chart, monthly chart. You're like, I don't know, guys. It's been up, sideways. I don't know if it's in the trend or not. Can't really make a sense of it. Here's the problem with a lot of cryptocurrency. This chart is in linear scale, right? Which means that all the prices are in linear same spaces. But remember, there are two different chart types you can use: linear versus logarithmic. When something happens so fast, it moves so quickly up and down, linear chart cannot capture all the movements. So you have to switch to logarithmic chart. So when you're looking at something like a Solana, which went from less than $1 up to $300, the linear chart can kind of deceive you, right? And what's the other thing that we forget? that Solana has been unlocking since top of last market. So the dollar per Solana is really not a good chart because it's been kind of diluted, right? The dollar per Solana, the price of Solana last bull run versus this bull run is very different because number of Solana has been changed drastically. Does that make sense to you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So the correct way to look at Solana, I think, is this way.
Oh, fucking stream we go.
This is Solana market cap, so the number of tokens doesn't really matter, right? And it's in a logarithmic chart. Oh, gee, look what Solana's doing, guys. It's been in this perfect uptrend channel, and it just touched the bottom of the uptrend channel and bounced right back, just like the total crypto market cap.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gee. Does that kind of match what we saw about the Kraken guys going off to start the micro strategy of Solana narrative? I mean, that's so when you're kind of looking at, I know Louis is in a whole different class because he does trading for a living. So I'm not. If you do that, that's not something that I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to do here is people like us who's got a day job that has to hold through all these up and downs of the market and looking at 12, 18, 24, 36 months horizon, right? You gotta have a patience and I guess gotta be stoic to hold through some of these market volatility, because in the short term nobody knows what the fuck's going on, right? But I can kind of going back to kind of put it in different buckets information. I know for a fact that big money and the big players only do things during the bull market. So let me look at the chart and see where we are in the chart, and does that match my expectation of big money doing things, and we're still in the bull market. And for total crypto market cap and Solana, we're still in the bull market.
Yep.
What a time to be alive. So you're telling me there's a chance.
1 in a million.
More likely than not. More likely than not.
Solana to 10,000 by December. You heard it here first. No, just joking, guys. But again, that's why we try to have a most balanced approach. Elias could not be here with us today. He is extremely busy with his mining business, and he's not out here, making like 200 grand a year with that business. That is a 7-figure business he's running, and with the data, we have a real qualified team here. Like I told you, Stock Market Steve is working with a top research firm live. He is literally getting raw data from the research firm and dropping it here. James does this for a living. Louis, 7-figure trader, as well as Alex is doing phenomenal. I'm not going to go into details, but he is doing very, very well. This is a very top of the line panel. If anybody's the weak person on the panel, it's me. I'm the weak link. I'm sorry, guys. I'm doing my best. I know how to pick up girls, but more importantly, I think the biggest thing that has really caught my eye, which James has been telling us since 2023. Keep in mind, guys, we have been working together, this team and many more members behind the scenes. We've been working together since December 2023, planning, plotting, and honestly speaking, we could all hang up our hats and we could say we've done pretty decent in this bull market. But it seems like the show's going on. But the most important marker, I think, that should be tracked as well, which is eerily coming to like fruition pretty quickly, is this chart right here. So this is a 12-week lead. And this is showing the black line here is the global liquidity. So this is going back until 2023 when we were doing our thing. And as you can see, global liquidity and Bitcoin are relatively paired. And as you can see now, liquidity has with the 12-week lead gone up. China has been printing. If you understand the economic cycle, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, but we must print money. There is no ands, ifs, or buts.
So sorry, John, to cut you off.
You're good.
But we saw change in the sentiment amongst three of the biggest players that can provide liquidity for the US or the international market, right? Mm-hmm. In last week or two. We saw the Treasury Secretary saying that, hey, if Fed is not going to lower the rates, the Treasury has tools to provide additional liquidity. What does that mean? Right? So he said on I can't remember the exact press conference or news release he said that, but he said, hey, Treasury is ready to provide liquidity if needed. Then we saw slight change of tone by Jerome Powell. He said, hey, I'm not going to lower the rates now, but we are willing to step in if necessary. So instead of saying, no, we're not going to do it, said, hey, we're not going to do it now, but we can if we need it to be, right? Then the third player is the U.S. banking regulation. The U.S. banks are now saying that, hey, remove the limits of the U.S. Treasury we can hold on our balance sheet, which means that they're going to buy the Treasury and pump the liquidity into the market. So you have the Treasury Department, you have the Fed, and you have the U.S. banking industry all saying, hey, we are willing to provide liquidity going forward. So what people a lot of miss is that they do not read between the lines. Guys, when you're talking about these government bodies and this, Fed and banking industry, you have to read between the lines. It's a lot more times what are they saying, but what are they not saying, and what are they implying by that, right? So like you said, John, other countries already have started.
Yeah.
But three of our biggest players said, hey, we're not ready yet, but we are willing to do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, this tracks perfectly, too, with the inflows of liquidity and the price moving up.
So, I mean, the best has yet to come, guys. Best has yet to come.
Well, I tell you what, if you've been watching us, we've been on quite the ride. And our theory has stayed same, because if you just look back a couple of months ago with liquidity the way it was compared to where it is now, you kind of saw a little bit of somewhat of a coupling here, but now global liquidity has taken off and Bitcoin is set to follow in suit. We got to watch and see what's going on with the trade wars. I think that's the biggest thing that has been messing with us is the trade wars and the tariffs. But once that's all sorted, I think,
also softening econ data in March and February. That's what led to that stock sell-off in those months.
Mm-hmm. Where Can you explain that? What do you mean by that?
Sure. Well, like consumer confidence, unemployment ticking up in February and March. The Atlanta Fed's GDP estimate as well was negative in February and March, and that's what led to some of the sell-off there as well. Yeah. So it's that plus the trade wars, plus Powell saying I'm not going to cut rates in so many words in May. But, again, me personally, I'm going to be buying back in within 2025. Just sort of as I mentioned before, I think the chop could be very damn nasty in May and June, potentially July as well, especially if he doesn't cut rates in July. So that's why I am choosing to maybe miss out on potential gains in the event of a surprise announcement, such as an emergency rate cut, like what they did back in 2008, to try and avoid this potential chop. I will be buying.
You can never predict that, though, Steve. Emergency rate cuts, who can predict it?
I can't.
Yeah.
But for the same reason, I also can't predict whether or not the market might sell off another 20%. So that's why I'm playing defensive until I know that I have that signal.
But at what point does it get to be like the prices have fallen so much that it becomes a value play?
Oh, I don't know. Well, that's the other thing, right, Louis?
Yeah,
That's different. That's a different way to look at things now, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the things with the crypto market is a lot of these things do not have a fundamental data, right? You can look at it relatively with a I look at Solana relative to other layer ones, right? Other layer one X Bitcoin, and say, hey, Solana should be priced higher than the Ethereum because it has more volume, blah 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 blah, right? More total value locked in, yada yada yada. But like absolute stock, discounted cash flow or whatever, the multiples of earnings type of thing.
Yeah. There's very little in crypto that does that.
Yeah.
I think Hype's the only one that really does it. But at least for stocks, you could put something together.
Yeah. Well, for value within stocks, just in a completely traditional sense, before the 2020 extreme money printing era, constantly relying on rate cuts era that we've sort of entered into since the pandemic, like 13 to 15 times price to earnings ratios.
Yeah, that's good, right?
Across the board. 13 to 15 times price to earnings ratios for the whole market. For tech stocks, maybe 24 times price to earnings ratios, 23 times price to earnings ratios. That's when those would be value plays at that point.
Okay.
Yeah. There are people right now buying Illuvium at $11 because they think it's a value play. So
yeah, hey, I bought things like in the crypto market because I thought they were value plays, and because they were 85% off from the high, and that did not work out at all. But in stocks, at least you could do that. For the S&P 500, you could do it, and Bitcoin, you could do it. But for a lot of things, no. That's also why I like trading too, is because I have an invalidation level, so I know
exactly.
Like,
if it's not running,
the value trap, right? Value trap. I done that too. I think something has bottomed out. And I'm like, oh, it looks cheap. I mean, then I find out it's fucking cheap for a reason,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I literally, that trapped me in a way where I bought the bottom, I sold the absolute top. I was patient for months and months and months and months, bought the bottom again, and then it went up a little bit because a lot of people were looking at it, and then crashed back down, and I ended up losing 50% or more. Even with doing that's the hard part about trading, is that you could do almost every single thing perfectly right. Get the bottom, sell the top, wait, be patient, buy low again, and still get screwed. So it's a lot of lessons in that.
But like going back to trading psychology, because you're not trading the trade, you're trading the system, right, against the market. So you can have a profitable trade, but was that the right trade if you didn't follow your system, right?
Well, the thing is that turned into like a value thing without a system. That was just like, oh, the price is down so much. So, this was years ago. This was before I really understood how to basically do everything. And make sure that I have my invalidation level, make sure that the thing is, because before what I would do is I would just draw lines on charts at key levels, and when it would hit the line, I would buy it or I would sell it. But now what I do is I draw zones, like little boxes.
Yeah, it's much more sophisticated. Yep.
Yeah, and I go into them when they hit, and I look for specific things to happen when they hit. So I've increased the complexity, but I've increased my profitability, and I've decreased my risk drastically. So
that's with the quants and the high frequency trading and the algorithmic trading, Argos, they hunt the stops all the time, looking at the patterns. So you can't just say, hey, this was the bottom of the channel last time, so I'm gonna put my stop there, and you're gonna get stopped out almost 90% of the time because they're hunting for the stops.
Yeah, definitely. I had to learn a lot of tricks to get around that, and probably the best one was just waiting and looking at the price action and waiting until it wicks down, stops everybody out, and then goes back up. Then it's like, okay,
Yep,
now
yep,
I know.
exactly. They're hunting for the stops, man. I'm telling you, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I
Especially
tell
with the
you,
leverage.
I bet you what they're doing to a degree, I would not be surprised that they're manipulating the charts to be like, oh, look, let's form a head and shoulders so everybody thinks that we're going to have head and shoulders.
Oh
Then
yeah.
nuke them, you know? So it's not only now with because the thing is, back in the day, you know, 90s onwards, backwards, the guys, the big players, they could operate in the shadows and kind of like manipulate the plebs. But now we have the internet, and everything just travels at light speed, data, information. I mean, look at this panel, right? I don't think anybody's in the same country right now in this panel.
Yeah. And we're literally updating in real time, like what you did with the ETFs, like what, a minute after it came out.
Yeah, exactly. To our massive audience.
I'm in North Korea, so I'm gonna begin my show to North Korea, the crypto show.
I'm in Cuba.
Hey, it's one of the biggest industries there, stealing.
Yeah. That being said, I just think, you know, it's just such an advanced game right now. And for everybody at home, you might be thinking like, oh, you know, I don't know if I could do this. I don't. Everybody on this panel has a bare minimum of 5 years, you know, of experience in this industry, making a bare minimum of 6 figures net profit. So and those are baby numbers. I don't want to go into details of profits here, but that being said, you know, we put this team together because we do believe we can put forward the best information for the viewers at home, viewers like you watching us right now. We thank you so much. We thank you for the super chats. Shout out to Anoop, who renewed his membership, by the way. Appreciate you, my friend. And you know, I'm not gonna lie, my heart was a little broken. I kind of thought we may have been cooked, and I feel like I may have let down the audience again. But it's good to see some recovery now. The number one thing we want to do is we want to lead with integrity and lead with our best foot forward, showing you guys transparently as much data that we see as possible, because we're all trying to solve this puzzle as well. And like, there are times where I have an amazing month, and like Louis will have a terrible month, and then Louis is, you know, he's having great months right now, and I've been kind of, you know, on the sidelines trying to, you know, maximize my area. That would the area of expertise I probably had this time around was definitely the meme coins. But that being said, we're just going to continually put our best foot forward and show up every week and really just knock this out, helping you guys get to where you need to be. And remember, if you're up, okay, it's never a bad idea to take profits, because you would rather have the problem of, oh, I only made, you know, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 versus I was up $500,000, but I only walked with 50K. You know, you'll never, you would rather, it's better for you to have the pain of, I have not as many gains as I want, versus the pain of, look at this, all this money I have guaranteed lost. You know, there's a big discrepancy there. And you really want to just not be greedy. I recommend everybody read the book Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. It shows you how greed gets you every single time. And, you know, despite what you believe, it's wise practice to believe that you really can't beat the market too long. You could beat the market for a little bit, but I think at the end of the game, you know, the market will always beat you in the long term. So get in, get your money, get out, you know, go do something with your life. Don't be obsessed. Don't let because I have gotten to the point too where I'm just like staring at my charts all day, freaking out. And you just kind of send yourself into this like self-induced crypto psychosis, which I don't recommend because it's a terrible place to be. I've been there. So that being said, and we got anything to close, guys, in chat? Anything you want to say in wrapping up?
I'll say something. I think we're 100% definitively getting rate cuts by the end of the year. Just to sort of put a bullet point on everything, I fully expect rate cuts by the end of the year with potentially QE. If we have rate cuts and QE simultaneously by the end of the year, yeah, we're going to be getting huge candles. If it's just rate cuts on its own, I would say the bull market is reliably back on by that point. But it's just not going to be as crazy. For now, I still think there's going to be some serious chop between now and May, June, maybe July. We're going to have to wait to see what their decision will be then. For that reason, I'm defensively invested until we get later into the year. And then when we get more clarity, that's when I will be re-entering. that's where I'm at. Peace, guys.
Solid.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just really quick. I flashed this up before. Here's your little IQ graph. Q4 top, Q4 top, and everyone in the fucking middle. So Steve saying, oh, end of year rate cuts. Beautiful. But if we're getting rate cuts at the end of the year, then that is probably a sell signal, not a buy signal. So Solana ETF, if we get that at the end of the year, sell signal, not a buy signal. Q4, 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 Q4. You'll have a Bitcoin top, and then everything tops, all the alts and everything tend to top like a month later. But then that's it. Like, don't get caught up in, oh my God. Now, I'm open to that changing, but at the moment, the preferred view, the most likely view, the view that you should be assuming will happen, Q4 top. Q4 top. So just keep that in mind. Also, if we don't get rate cuts, then yes, everything will be a big fucking disaster. But generally, I've seen that when rates are super high, that's when everything tops out and then shits the bed. So if the end of this year, 2025, is when everything peaks and then goes to shit, that could happen. Either way, all we know, 2025, Q4, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for.
Good stuff. Well, also one thing I just forgot to bring up real quick, I want to show you guys. This is also an important metric because we haven't been down to these levels since April 2022.
Shut up and take my money.
And I'll address that super chat that just came in. Give me 1 second. But the DXY has been crashing, and that's part of this trade war situation we're going through. You want a weak dollar. Typically, when you see DXY going down as well as Bitcoin dominance going down, we're most likely going to have some kind of alt season. Now, I want to redefine the terminology alt season because back in 2021, when there was 1,600 cryptos, everybody got an alt season. Now it is only a select few that you need to peruse through and identify as who is actually indeed going to have the privilege of an alt season. Because 2016, 2017, ICO craze, everything went up. It was the easiest money ever to be made. But now it has become a far more intricate game. And as time goes on, it will get harder. So that being said, Juan Correa has a $10 super chat. So what's the panel's current analysis and sentiment regarding ADA and XRP? Thank you, gentlemen, for all the valuable insight you're sharing this evening. Alex?
Yeah, so just pulling up once again, if it's not outpacing Bitcoin, we don't care. So Cardano has made a low here and kind of, a higher low, but it's still stuck in this kind of channel. You're probably better off, in terms of like, if you were to trade this, it's kind of untradeable. Here's a weekly chart in terms of 200-week moving average is all the way up here. Like that is literally a 2x away just to reach the 200-week moving average. So we have 200, 20, 50. We want to see green on top, orange in the middle, red on bottom. We do not have that. So not really a fan of this. You might think price-wise, or maybe it'll do something, but it's just not performing versus Bitcoin. With that said, this reminds me of, I've been seeing Polkadot doing so much advertising lately. Polkadot. We're spending money on this sport team, and we're here, and we're buying these billboards in China, and we're doing all this shit. And that tells me that they know that the project is over, and they're just trying to get as many people in as possible. Because when you're promoting, that is generally when they're trying to offload. XRP is, we're in this range. It hasn't broken out. It would be nice if it did, but it hasn't yet. But I have also been seeing promotions for XRP. You'll be getting, sign up in an account for this trading thing and we'll give you some XRP. It's got all this marketing, which makes me kind of sus on it because like you shouldn't, if people are spending money to run ads for XRP, that generally means that they're looking to fuck off. So we're looking at XRP versus Bitcoin and, we keep it simple. We've got a level. I mean, the wicks are a bit lower here, but maybe we've breached above it and now we're coming down and now we're going to go this way. That would be nice. So, depends on where you're at in terms of where'd you buy in. Lou did he's got a great chart of XRP with the versus Bitcoin. So he might want to bring that up, but basically like all the way back to 2020, it just like launched and made this, 4.8x just out of the blue in the last couple of months. Now, is that going to continue? We shall see. None of us are too excited about any altcoins at the moment in terms of do we expect them suddenly to add $200 billion to their market cap? So I am a bit you know, I'm not too excited about XRP. Basically, it's
Yeah.
not at a terrible level though. Maybe it'll turn around if you were getting in. You know, you set a stop, off we go. I'm not sure how big. Let's have a look before we just start setting stops. Because I mean, 20%. You know, you're a little bit below there. So I'm not too excited about XRP or Cardano. I'm much more positive on XRP, but once again, I keep seeing ads. Polkadot, Cardano, XRP, and that just tells me like if they're spending all this money on trying to get people to buy it as opposed to making something that's actually decent, I'm a bit worried about that. I don't see Solana ads. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I don't see Solana ads. I see Ethereum ads now, but you know, that's where I'm at on that. Neither I don't own either of them because I don't think they're reliable enough in terms of the gain potential. XRP just happened to spurg up, which is great, lovely if you were holding it, but I don't see it operating well. I think it's too centralized. I think that the money's been made on it, especially when it comes to the founders having like all of the money. So now they just want people to come in so they can just keep selling it.
You know, in November, it was like you could make money doing anything. It was like full on retarded. I think now as we are definitely in the last 25% of the bull run, I would say. So that being said, we are looking at, if anything's going to happen, it looks like it's going to be Q4. And honestly, the pressure seems to be building up. Like Bitcoin, how high can Bitcoin dominance go before we break down? Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's back up to the all-time. Once it gets to the highs of where it was the previous few cycles, it would be really, I'd be concerned if it just keeps on going up after that. Like I feel like there's definitely going to be a pullback. Because at that point, then altcoin dominance would be at the lowest it's been, you know, and it's like, technically speaking, altcoin dominance should rise after that point. And who knows if that's going to be? I think it's going to be Q4 like everybody else, and that's basically what I'm waiting for until we get close to there, and then I'm going to load up and then ride off into the sunset.
Take me with you. I'll fold your clothes.
I'll fold your underwear.
I'll put a nice crease in your shirts and everything. All right, guys. Well, listen, that's going to do it for us this week. Tokyo Crypto Show Season 2, the best episode ever on this channel in regards to crypto. I mean, you have no better panel in the world. So until then, we'll see you next time. Thanks for being here with us. Hold strong. Until then, peace out.